Okay, it is a cold, wet, windy day in London, which means it's probably a really good day to discuss the Metaverse.
The Metaverse.
Metaverse. Big tech players inside the Metaverse.
Maybe you're not quite sure what it is.
Early speculators.
Digitizing celebrities.
Massive risks.
And launching them into the Metaverse.
I saw this coming.
The Metaverse.
That it could change the face of how we interact.
Is there ever a good day to discuss the Metaverse? There is, actually. Because the fact is, like everyone else, you've probably been hearing the word Metaverse, cryptocurrency, Web 3.0, and blockchain for a little while now. And let's face it, while a lot of us think we understand it, there's probably about 5 people in the whole world that know exactly where this is going to go. And then really there are just a whole load of other people who are trying to convince you that they know where it's going to go. Mainly because, well, they have some sort of self-interest in it. How does food work in the Metaverse? We've never really worked out food online. By the way, thank you Dell, who are helping with all this. They said, do you want to make a video about something? I said, I might do the Metaverse and how that works in YouTube and the kind of stuff that I want to do. And they went, yeah. Actually, that sounds all right, actually. So unless you're regularly in a university seminar and you sit next to someone who's extremely pretentious, I'm so sorry. You really probably don't use the word or hear the word meta all that much. But really the definition is very simple. Like so many other things, we get it from the Greeks and it sort of means beyond, after, or behind. Now that's pretty fitting for the Metaverse because it's beyond the screen, it came after this universe, obviously, and it's behind a lot of the other things that are gonna push the new internet and probably influence a lot of the things that are going to be going on in this world. Just not in the way that we've been sold that they're going to influence those things. Now let's quickly define what Metaverse is. It's basically the same sort of social connections as we already make online through your Twitters, Facebooks, Instagrams, Bebo. These are generally done through like a 2D screen, like a laptop or a phone, and maybe even a TV or a tablet. But the point with that is all 2D. Hey, I'm just sitting here editing this right now and I realize there's probably someone out there who's watching this right now boiling, saying, no, this is what the Web 3.0 is about, this is what this is about. There's a lot of definitions out there and I really just went down a creative route here. Look, no one's trying to say this is exactly what the internet is going to become, but there's just an exploration and I kind of want to start that conversation because this is going to be a series of videos. So whilst people are busy redefining it, put it in the comments, put what you think Web 3.0 is going to be, because it's impossible to define all of it in a short summary video like this. But we're going to try, relatively. Web 3.0 is really about the individual in a 3D virtual space rather than this 2D world that sort of interacts with ours. It's almost like an extension of what we want to have in the real world. And it kind of takes away from some of the limitations that we have. For instance, you don't really need food in the Metaverse, but you do need food in the real world. You don't really need sun in the Metaverse, but you do need sun in the real world. There's a lot of new rules that we can make in the Metaverse, basically based on the kind of fantasy that a lot of people have of it, that we can sort of fly around like an Avatar movie or move things like Inception. And whilst that is possible, and I do think there's something quite cool about that, and by the way, that is something that we will talk about later, it's not exactly why people wanted this version of the internet to come around. See, when the internet first came around, it was really just about sorting information and making a language that all computers could speak to each other through. It was Tim Berners-Lee who made the internet, and he talks about it in a TED Talk, which is quite interesting.
Everything I looked into, I had to connect to some new machine, I had to learn to run some new program.
But what he basically said was, I was sick of having all these different machines that couldn't really speak to each other.
Nobody really did anything with it very much.
So I wanted to make a language that all those machines could speak to each other with, which he did, which was the HTML, and then that became other stuff, and then we built other stuff on top of HTML.
I wrote the code and put it out there.
And really there are a lot of common languages on the internet that we would just access through our computer. So it didn't really matter how our computer was written. The internet was all written the same and everyone could kind of get to a certain level on that. But that was kind of moving information around in a 2D space. Web 1.0 was just text. Web 2.0 became more text, video, pictures, and Web 3.0 is about augmenting that space either through VR or AR. And really there's going to be a lot of people at home who are watching this on their laptops, phones, and everything else, who are going to be the people that design this Web 3.0. Most of the people designing Web 3.0 right now probably aren't the people who are going to revolutionize it. There's probably someone like you who's sitting at home right now on a laptop or thinking about getting a laptop or thinking of going to university who, let's face it, has probably got a pretty original way of thinking compared to a lot of the people who are probably in an industry, listen to everyone else, and don't really have an idea of what comes next. And then the other aspect that fits into all of this is the blockchain, which is probably the thing that you've heard from your friend, you know, the guy either at the pub or the coffee shop or at work who's constantly buying NFTs. Yeah, we don't really know where those things go yet, but some people have got a pretty good idea. And when I say NFT, you probably think of a monkey that a celebrity bought. But the reality of NFTs are that they aren't just images. These are things that come with a community around them, and they're really just mimicking what other art communities have done in the past and built up around that. It's just expediting the process, making everything a little more frictionless and everything a little bit easier. You can get into people's Discords, you can start contacting other people who also have the same NFT. There's a certain relationship that you might have because you're gonna know that the other person that's also bought an NFT, A, has similar interests to you, B, has similar knowledge to you, C, might have some good insight that you might be able to leverage at some point, maybe other NFTs, maybe other insights into NFTs, and finally they might also just be someone who's relatively cool, though the likelihood is if that person owns an NFT right now, they're not cool, they're just loaded. All of that lives on the blockchain, which I don't really want to get into right now because I'm not 100% sure that I understand every application of it. But what I will say is that it does give a lot of people some sort of financial anonymity and independence that means that they can act outside of the rules that would normally apply to them in the real world. Now, in the long run, it probably looks like all of this decentralized idea of whatever money is probably going to have to go through some form of regulation at some point because, well, let's face it, the whole reason that the internet came around was to make sure that all these different platforms could speak to each other. But while the gold rush is going on and there's this decentralized idea of trading, art, and anything else that you can make valuable online, then there is going to be an incredible amount of innovation in that time. And if you want to be part of that innovation, and I know that's partly what you're thinking, the real question is, how do we fit into this as people at home on our laptops with relatively smart ideas, but not really knowing where we fit in terms of application and what we really want to do in this space. Sure, we're hearing a lot about people who are buying land online, people who want to be Snoop Dogg's neighbors, but if you don't want to be Snoop Dogg's neighbor, what can you do? So let's just start by defining, this is not Avatar, this isn't like that weird game that you used to play a few years ago, and it definitely isn't like The Sims, though if it was, that would still be kind of cool. There's a lot of opportunities here for us to play with whatever our identity is, whether that be online or in real life. And the real conclusion that I've come to is that whilst we might want to deny that these things are going to influence the real world, they're going to have loads of unseen consequences that we probably aren't going to know at this point, because by definition, these things will be unforeseen. Sure, you might buy an NFT, sure, you might buy some land, sure, you might buy some cryptocurrency, but those are all relatively things that we can judge the impact of. You want to own some art, you want to be part of a community, you want to have some sort of financial freedom, or you want to invest in something online which requires you to have Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever the coin is that you might need to have. But the really cool aspect of this is beyond VR and AR and being able to play table tennis against your friend who's halfway around the world, it's a real thing. Because Web 3.0 is so much more about the individual at the moment, there's so much more room and space for self-expression online. And whilst we've got platforms like YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and Twitch and so many different places that people can go express themselves, at the moment they're relatively limited in terms of Web 2.0. You can really put a video up like I'm doing here and say something, and then the meta idea is that you can comment back, and then I can also comment back, and then we get meta, probably another term for that. And Web 3.0 is looking to solve a lot of those limitations and issues that people hit when they can't necessarily express themselves online in the way they want to express themselves. And what I found is that there seems to be a real importance online in telling a story and self-expression. And there's a lot of different metaverse applications, which, by the way, isn't just Facebook, isn't just a massive platform that's owned by a company. There's plenty of chance for you to do your own coding, plenty of platforms where people will help you do your own coding, and plenty of platforms where they're already really mixing coding with a very friendly user interface. For instance, if you want to change what happens in the metaverse, you absolutely can. These roses can go from red to blue, water can run backwards if I want it to, and it changes the rules of the way that this world interacts. Whatever it is that you can design, whatever it is that you can conceive of, is relatively possible in this world as long as you've got some relatively decent design ideas. And that's where something like Sandbox comes in. Let's take a look. Create new, the Dell world. I'm gonna go lake, as like there's a bit of a blue theme going on with Dell this month. So this is Sandbox's basically creation platform where you can go in and add items and all sorts of things. And wait, can I move around? Yeah, so okay. Wow, you actually can just click a tree. This is a beautiful, standard and straight tree. Okay. So the world starts pretty empty, and so far I've managed to place 4 trees in a car. Okay, let's play it. Right, so I can actually now I've just created a world in about 2 seconds. Right, so jump up, happy. Okay. So you can express emotions in this as well, which is pretty cool. Dancing now, all right. Look at his little blue trainers, look at those. He looks so much like me. Is that a little... So this is much more to mimic your like sort of Roblox and Minecraft sort of thing. And I think a lot of people feel really comfortable in this sort of world. I mean, just look at this, like you're literally just climbing a mountain. This is kind of a really nice starting safe space to like make someone move around. Now I know this looks a lot simpler and therefore it's sort of... Wait, where's he gone? He's just gone. Okay, I've lost my friend apparently. Turns out not everything in the metaverse is friendly and lovely and, you know, beautiful. You can still, you know, kill art. Nothing was found because I don't own any art. I'm not an NFT owner yet. Right, this all makes sense now how all this comes together. Barbarian Scout, you can go there. Bench. I'm gonna search blue. Block blue, okay? A blue car. Okay, look. That is a blue cup. A barbarian, and I'm gonna just chop away at this guy. You chop. Oh, turns out his friend wants to help him. I was kind of hoping it would be a bit less about sort of fighting people and a bit more about sort of buying things. Or this is the join from the gaming world into the NFT and Web 3.0 world, where people can just build their own stuff. There's this whole open world where you can just build. We'll go into what someone else has built and see where other people are making progress, and then this is our start point, like our jump off point for where everything else goes, okay? Right, and here we go. Right, so you got a little traveler friend there with you. I mean, to you this might just look like a game, but to a lot of people this is them this is someone learning to make something that then someone else can play in and kind of learning to make a world. And this is like the basics of designing the metaverse. People can go in, they can place objects, they can work out how the world sort of interacts with each other. This is where the metaverse becomes a bit of a challenge because what you need is good designers. This is so similar to Inception, where you need people who are going to design a world that is functional and works and isn't just, you know, oh, we're running around. Because I'm impressed with me just being able to run around, design characters, but there are plenty of games that have kind of done that for years. This is Web 3.0, 1.0. This is the start of something. This isn't the end of it. But it is still quite exciting because you can still express and find NFTs and go in there and this is cool. You might have seen recently the launch of the new Matrix movie. Cool, I've not been to see it yet. But the other aspect was they launched a game that came out alongside it, and the game was all rendered in Unreal Engine 5. For some people this blew their minds, for other people they just said, it's not in my real games yet, when can I get it? But the fact is that not only did it look so realistic, it also allowed new ways of capturing people's emotions, expressions, and particularly facial expressions, that it mixed a couple of things that we're not really used to seeing on a regular basis online. Not only was so much of the city generated by a computer, which then allowed designers to do so much more customization because the computers had dealt with so much of the other design process, that it also meant that they could focus on the experience of being in that world and designing it into something that felt a lot more real. Now, whether we want the metaverse to feel real or not is another question, but the fact that we can make the metaverse feel more real is definitely going to help us. Now, I'm not saying that you can go out and have dinner on a Friday night with your friends just yet, or that you can smell whatever's cooking over there. That really is Web 4.0, where we're talking about neural links and stuff like that, and I'll be honest, that sort of thing just scares me. But the really cool thing, which is absolutely free online, and it blows my mind that you can do this through a web browser, so it blows my mind that you don't necessarily need a super powerful machine like mine to get started, although a super powerful machine like this might help you in a little while. You can design your own avatar, your own person. I mean, just look at this. And this is called MetaHuman, and this does exist on Unreal Engine. Let me just edit our selected character here. Okay, are you seeing that? Let's just take a little look around this guy. Look at this guy. I'll be honest, I was originally going for like a character that looked a little childish Gambino-y. Let me just take a real sip of coffee, which you can't do in the metaverse just yet. But I'd imagine that someone will tell you that you can because they've rendered a coffee token. This coffee token tastes great. Are you seeing this? Like seriously, this guy's beard looks better than mine. These are blemishes on his skin. These are pores around here. Look at that. Now you might be saying, so what? I don't really care about some guy online that I can just design. What difference does that really make? The fact is, this is still a set of pre-made features, and sure, I get it. You might not be all that impressed by this. We could do this in a number of different places. But when it comes down to controlling all the different aspects of this person's face, I can give him bigger eyes. I can give him smaller eyes. I can control all these different aspects that probably weren't really available to me before in such an easy format. This is only being rendered in like medium at the moment, according to these guys. I'm gonna go epic ray tracing for a second. And to be able to do this through a web browser is insane. I'm feeling blue at the moment. It gives you like that super sort of nice Dell kind of feel. This is beautiful blue moonlight that we're applying to this guy. If I just skip to 6 there, that's his whole body. That's cool. Look at that. Let's go back to blue. I'm kind of feeling blue at the moment. I'm gonna go blue moonlight there. That just looks cool. I feel like the blue, let's not zoom in on his crotch. You don't particularly need a fast laptop. You can do this all through a web browser. Let's pick a new guy and I'll show you what kind of things we can do. You know what? I'm gonna go with this woman at the very top here, mainly Ada. Cool, look at these eyes. I don't know why, she seems to be working up a tear right there. Maybe we'll fix that in the metaverse. Look at that skin. Look at the tiny little hairs around there. Maybe I'm geeking out a little bit at the moment. First of all, Ada, you look cool in blue. You can decide what kind of body you want. Ada, you're wearing slip-ons. I'm gonna give you some boots. Now look at it. That looks more real than I look in this video. I've done enough blending there. The whole point is that you don't have to necessarily have the same identity you have in real life in the metaverse. And there might be some people out there who are kind of thinking, what use is that to me? I love who I am in the real world. Cool, recreate yourself on that. Or like try and recreate something that looks similar or map yourself onto an avatar like that. But I'm sure there are a whole load of people who also want to have a whole other aspect to their life. There might be some people who aren't particularly happy with some of the aspects of their life. And some people who also think that this conceptual idea of themselves is just as real as the other aspect. And if they can make this other aspect of themselves in this other world, they might just be able to visualize something different or something better for themselves in the real world. And let's face it, whilst there might be a whole load of judgment around these kind of things right now, who hasn't gone to escape in a film at some point in their life? Who hasn't gone to escape at the football at some point in their life? Who hasn't put part of their identity into something else and then decided to try and shape it through attaching part of their identity to that? This isn't some sort of old idea here. This is all about being creative and artistic, and there are new platforms being built now that make it 10 times easier for anyone else who wants to be able to do this. Now, like I said, you don't have to design your own world. This opens up a whole new world of what we can do in terms of being creative online. And it's particularly exciting for people who want to make videos or some sort of creative content. You might be sick of seeing me in the same creative space over and over and over again. You've seen my son's little Lamborghini, you've seen the... Sure, could I play piano in the metaverse? If I design the right character. Let's go down the real life route for a second. As a video maker and an aspiring filmmaker, you can design whole new worlds which can do two things. This whole new world can help you find the real life aspect, can help you design something that then you recreate in real life, or you can create whole other worlds that then you put cameras in and you can move those cameras around. And I can render myself in 3 dimensions online. At the moment, you're just watching this through a flat screen, and these things are amazing for watching that sort of thing. But what these things also enable is the ability to be able to design something which then becomes 3D. So not only could I put a VR headset on and go sit next to KSI while he makes a video, or interact with Calix in one of his videos, or sit at the True Geordie podcast table, I could move around that space in real time as those people are having that podcast. I can pick things up. I can look in detail at whatever it is that is in that room, because cameras can now 3D scan all of this stuff. Or we can map that space and then put KSI, True Geordie, me, whoever it is, into that space. No longer is YouTube just a one-dimensional area that you watch on a screen and interact with in terms of comments. The comment section now becomes the interaction section. You can safely and realistically go into a space which you can then manipulate. You can make KSI's bed as he's doing a video. You can make me a coffee and leave it on the table. Thanks, by the way. The filmmaker and any of those people can put themselves in any different space. Not only that, but you can design your own set for one of your favorite creators. You could design your own set and become your own favorite creator. You could have an experience where you see what it's like to be in that person's perspective, but you can also now manipulate the course of a video. You could take the voice, the monologue, the recording of any of your favorite creators, recreate them in a 3-dimensional space. By the way, no one's saying you have to do any of this. If you still want to watch it in 2D, I'm sure there are 10 different aspects. It's just that you can reframe it. You can set your own focus. You can set what you want to see in the room. If you're watching at night somewhere in the world, the room could be night as it is with you. Those windows could be showing you a sunrise right now. If it's sunrise wherever you are, if you're in the Philippines or Germany or wherever you think, you even want to design me some bars of gold, which then I can sit on in a video. Fantastic. This is going to change the way that storytelling is done online. And the same way that YouTube made it easy to share your videos, this is going to make it just as easy to design spaces and places and people and things that we can interact with. For sports, it's already being changed. There are cameras that are courtside at the NBA. There are 360 cameras that are capturing things in the Premier League. There are people going out there with 360 cameras that you can then put a headset on and sit so close to all these other people in whatever game, whatever place it is. You can edit your own angles, your own shots, your own scenes in films. If you want to recut something, you want to re-edit it, you want to change an angle ever so slightly. And by the way, this doesn't mean that I don't always get the frame that I want in my videos. I can still set the framing of absolutely every shot that I have, and you can witness that if you want. But the point is, you can then play with that. You can explore the space that you had and maybe find a better angle to film something than I did. You can make some creative decisions afterwards that we've not even started to make yet. And at no point is anyone saying that there aren't going to be huge companies that are trying to exploit elements of this space. Because let's face it, Web 1.0 was that, Web 2.0 was that. At some point, Web 3.0 needs more funding than it currently has, and Web 4.0 still scares me. I need another coffee token. Now I need an orange juice token. The next goal in this series is to make a fully metaverse video just on this laptop. I'll be honest, I tried to do that, but I'm still trying to learn it. And it is, put it this way, I think it is possible, but it is also a real challenge. Then how does that impact our world, our real world that we're living in? Because not everyone's going to want to make a transition to the metaverse. Well, first of all, there are going to be some very easy sort of pop cultural ideas. There are going to be some pop stars that exist almost exclusively in the metaverse. It's definitely already started influencing art. You're looking at friends who are putting NFTs as their representation online. You're looking at people who are buying music from their favorite artist and then using that music. You're looking at huge companies like Nike making things which you can point a camera at and it changes the outfit that you're wearing. And let's face it, there are plenty of aspects that we didn't know where previous technology was going to influence people. People didn't know that the radio was going to go so far and that you'd be able to hear radio sort of bounced off the atmosphere from Russia when you were in England. They didn't know that TV was going to become HD at some point, and at some point you'd be able to see color through a screen like that. And there's probably someone watching a video like this or this video who decides that they're going to go to university to study something very specific, or comes from a completely different space and sees something that none of us who have been in this space for years have seen yet, because they have a unique perspective, because they're the person who had a thought at that exact moment and went, I'm going to be able to show these people how to cook online, or I'm going to have a whole second life online, which means that I can interact in this way or change this aspect of this thing, and I'm an artist, I'm going to design things that work in the real world and online. Or you'll watch this video in a few years' time and think how outdated some of the things that I'm saying here are. No matter how skeptical or into it you are, these things are going to move forward and they are going to influence your daily life. We're already seeing on a very basic level that NFTs are having some sort of influence on the real world because people are buying them. The exciting aspect is that if you've got a laptop sitting at home, if you've got some very basic software, which by the way is absolutely free, then you are good. I'm not saying you need to start a whole metaverse business here, but at least just go and play with it. See if it gives you an idea, see if it changes some sort of aspect of what it is that you want to do, see if it influences something about your daily life. No one's saying this is the Matrix here and you have to get completely sucked into it and live online, but if you just want to go play with it, then right now is definitely the time to do that. And the second that you just search Metaverse online, there are about 1,000 different people who are willing to help you out. There are YouTube tutorials. There are all sorts of things that you can just dive into and experiment with. Now is the time to play around with it before people start saying, oh, it's serious, whatever Metaverse identity it is that you have has to be locked to a real avatar and you must have a passport for this. Like, before we get too serious about this, let's have this playful period. This is the gold rush right now. But the gold rush also means there's plenty of places that people can just go and chill in those areas. The gold rush in America also meant that people could just go and have a simple, restful life out in the middle of nowhere, finding out what their new frontier was. And whilst there were many scary aspects to the gold rush and that new frontier, and a lot of naysayers and a lot of doomsday predictivists, there were also people out there who just said, hey, I'm here for the ride, let's see what happens. I think I'm here for the ride. Let's see what happens.